Many scientists think that they have some idea of the size of the universe, how long ago it came into existence, and when it might end. But no one can say whether ours is the only universe or whether there are an infinite number of universes. If there's an infinite number, then some of them may be very much like our own.
This is a test. This station is conducting a test of the emergency broadcasting system. This is only a test. This is a test of the emergency broadcasting system. The broadcasters of your area, in voluntary cooperation with federal, state, and local authorities, have developed this system to keep you informed in the event of an emergency. If this had been an actual emergency, the attention signal you've just heard would have been followed by official information, news, or instructions.
Assaulted by an invisible, silent force. Please send help. To our benevolent benefactors, we are in dire need. We are being assaulted by an invisible, silent force. Please send help. We did everything you instructed. We have followed all plans exactly, kept every rule. For many cycles your guidance has benefited us. But suddenly and without any warning, something has begun to attack. A silent predator devouring machines and people alike. Our resources are being destroyed. Our infrastructure is being rendered inoperable. Our people are disappearing, snatched away without warning. No struggle, no sound. We are under attack and we cannot fight back. We know it is forbidden to broadcast on this channel before your return, but we have no options left. Please send help to the place you call Beta Procyon. We await, diminished and desperate, for your answer.
This is the only trace I could find. No other transmissions, history, or official logs linking anything to Beta Procyon. A supposedly uninhabited, lifeless, and restricted Terra twin tethered to a subspace node and sitting perfectly in a prime habitable orbit. No archives, stored history of any searches or records of this place. There are hundreds, thousands of planets like this in known space. Why did this have to be anything other than a cold statistic? But I had my doubts, and what I recovered from a dealer beneath Epsilon Prime was not just scrubbed packets, but shocking data, a wounded history. Since then I've been chasing memories, not whole records, but neural extractions, contextless hashes, shards of experiences of what happened there. By themselves they are nonsense, flashes of sensation, disconnected timestamps, voices without faces. And the only recombination device I was able to procure is unreliable at best. I need the help of many minds to help me sort through the overwhelming amount of information, and time is against me. I can't be certain that either of the major players will not crack this encryption soon, so we must be quick. If you're ready, if you want to help me, please say so. I'll take it. I'm immersed in so much stimuli. I have access to memories, fragments, bits, visions, sounds, smells. But I need to focus my mind on connecting with it. I need your help. I need questions. Ask me questions that I can answer clearly, yes or no. And maybe we can get somewhere. What I see now is a small group of individuals standing near each other, shaking hands. There are crowds, many people standing near them, but not close enough to see, not close enough to be involved. They're uneasy. What is happening here?
Are they shaking hands?
Yes. Well, a small group of them, yes.
Are they happy? Is this a meeting?
Are they happy? I think so.
Are they congratulating each other? Is this a celebration?
No congratulations.
Do they look like you? Are the ones shaking hands dressed differently than the crowd around them?
Yes. The ones shaking hands are dressed slightly differently.
Are these important people? Is this on Beta Procyon?
Yes. It is on Beta Procyon.
Are you in the vision?
No.
Do they have weapons?
I don't think so.
Is it dangerous?
Everything can be dangerous. I don't think this situation was.
Are they in love?
I don't think so.
Is there a visible threat?
No.
Is it a party? Do all the ones shaking hands look the same? Can you tell us more about them?
Is it a party? No. Do all the ones
Are they
shaking hands?
exchanging something?
It's a little bit of interference, I apologize. All the ones shaking hands look the same, no. Are they exchanging something?
Is the sky normal?
It does appear that they're exchanging something, but they're not carrying anything.
Does the scene remind you of a book? A movie?
I don't think so. Not me, personally.
Is the small group facing you?
I'm not.
Do you recognize anyone?
No.
Does anyone look uniquely different? Is it an agreement of some kind? Are the two groups enemies?
Does anyone look uniquely different? Yes. Is it an agreement of some kind? Yes, I think so. Are the two groups enemies? No. Is this in the past? I hope so. I don't want to get involved.
Is this in the past?
I don't want to get involved in any future dealings here.
Are the two groups friends?
I don't get that impression, no.
Are the people old?
I don't think that plays into it. Could be.
Are they trading something? Is it a business merger?
Are they trading something? It feels one-sided, but yeah, something is being exchanged.
Is it a hostage situation?
Absolutely not. No. There's no ill feelings here.
Are you hallucinating?
I guess that's kind of how this technology works. You sort of hallucinate on purpose, yeah.
Can you hear the words they are exchanging? Are they exchanging knowledge?
Can I hear the words they're exchanging? No, I can't.
Is it a trade?
It is a trade. Are they exchanging knowledge?
Do any of them look like non-human animals?
Knowledge is being exchanged. It doesn't feel like it's both ways, though. Do any of them look like non-human animals? Yes.
Is one group more powerful than the other?
Yes.
Are we in space?
No.
When looking at the entire crowd, do there appear to be two distinct groups or more than two?
I wouldn't even say it. It's all one distinct group. They all look of the same type, except those in the middle shaking hands.
Are any of your people there? Is one group outnumber the other? Are they exchanging food? Is one side surrendering? Are they trading knowledge about agriculture?
Let me catch up. Are any of my people there? It's almost all my people. Are they exchanging food? No. Is one side surrendering? No. Are they trading knowledge about
Is anyone
agriculture?
crying or sad?
No. No tears. No sadness. The knowledge doesn't feel specifically about agriculture, but it might have knock-on impacts like that. I'm not sure.
Are they exchanging knowledge about technology?
Yes.
Are any of them staring at you?
I'm not.
Are they trading
Not in
power
the.
sources?
Are they trading powers? They're not trading. That feels like a.
Are they exchanging knowledge about weapons?
That is part of it.
Is technology visible in the vision?
Well, what isn't technology?
Are they exchanging information about the cosmos/space?
Yes.
Are they explaining information about another planet?
Many planets.
Do they say anything about Earth?
No. Although, I've never heard of Earth.
Do you believe they pose a threat to any other planets?
I don't think so.
Earth isn't anything special.
Okay. Got it.
Do they say anything about hyperspace?
Yes, only that they can't share that yet.
So they are being given information about technology. Is it concerning energy?
Yes. Yes.
Do you feel they are working together to save people?
Hard to say. I believe the intent is prosperity.
Is it about water energy?
No.
Is it about any form of renewable energy?
Yes.
Is it about labor of some kind?
They arrived without
Can you
fanfare,
tell us a story about
strange
these people?
silhouettes polluting the sunset. Word spread quickly, and dread overcame many. I had been so excited, young and naive, but thrilled. What magical being had decided to visit us? Many came in many shapes and sizes. Some familiar, some not. They called themselves the Intergalactic Science Consortium, or ISC, and they were more than familiar with us. They had been watching our progress and offered not weapons or mandates, but tools and technology. Promises of efficient materials, transportation blueprints, and boundless energy sources. We were not in any immediate distress. Our peoples, of course, had centuries-long struggles, some unspeakable, but we were thriving now above and below the earth. Technology was improving. Our planet was connected, and we were all learning so much, so fast. Our people were staring down an offer of skipping the next several generations of advancements in exchange for what? A request of consideration. The ISC would work with us to train and implement their gifts, but would depart soon thereafter. They would then leave us be for 25 cycles to forge our own path and to decide if we wished to join their consortium. Debate was not long. Our leaders accepted their proposal, and overnight our world was forever changed. Soon they were gone, and thus we were on a different path.
Kira stared into the sky for a moment. 2 patrol craft sporting red finishes streamed across the setting sun, prime examples of the benefits and changes that had been brought by the outsiders. It had been almost 20 years since the expedition left them with too much and a yearning for more. But deep down, she knew that they wanted the equilibrium of self-development to exist, so that her people could contribute their own unique cultural and technological advances. But what had been left behind brought about just as many conflicts as benefits. She had been waiting for a day like this, anticipating it. But now that it was here, what was she to do? The reactor had just produced its first recorded side effects, but Lotor was clear in its stance that nothing would stop its push to harness the massive power within the mysterious substance. The machinery used to harness the energy from the dark matter had ceased producing any additional energy. And while this enough was cause for concern, the machinery had continued to operate, sustaining itself on its own, like it was trying to self-regulate. As the two technological marvels soared past the complex, she toyed with the idea of simply riding the magnetic rail home, of using their own technology. But she fished out her tiny communicator and pressed a series of buttons. Reverse thruster fire sounded soon thereafter, shaking age-old machinery standing on the horizon. Kira waved her paw high and stepped back as the craft hovered down a few feet in front of her. The cockpit door hissed and withdrew, revealing a middle-aged soul, his full flight suit containing most of his thick fur. Recognition spread across his face as Kira climbed into the passenger compartment. The now excited raccoon looked her over, confirming his suspicions. "Hey, aren't you that scientist from the debates a while back?" he stammered. Without waiting for an answer, he quickly gestured to her, his paw face up. "Sorry, ma'am, where are my manners?" Kira reached for his paw, and he quickly accepted it and shook it vigorously. "I'm Jean," he offered, tipping his hat as he attempted a subtle nod of acknowledgement. Kira smiled as she accepted his heartfelt welcome. "Strap in tight," he offered. He punched the accelerator, and both were instantly sucked into their seats. Kira's internal concerns were instantly drowned out by the roar of the thrusters. After a moment, she glanced out the window at the streaking landscape. "Running a bit behind today," his voice broadcasted across the internal comm system. Kira motioned to his headset. "Ah, want to talk?" he jokingly pondered. Kira nodded. He handed her the other headset, which hung snugly from her ear to wrap around her muzzle. As Jean flipped the switch to activate her headset, he gathered, "So, why are we out so late tonight, ma'am?" Kira sighed, shaking her head and rummaging through her head fur. "Don't worry about it, just some problems at the lab." He raised an eyebrow in response. "Seems like a bit more than that," he probed. She chuckled. "Is it that obvious?" She resigned as she pawed at her eyes. He softly nodded and gestured with his free paw to continue. "The reactor's output has changed. Not dangerous. Well, maybe dangerous, but something's gone wrong and we don't know. We just don't have a clue." "Don't know how to fix it?" he inquired. "No, that's the weirdest part," she offered. "Nothing is broken, all the parts are fine. Cooling is more than adequate, backup batteries are untapped, and the stress indicators show no change in the past 2 months. Kira shook her head. "No problem, right? That's what we said when Lotor informed us that our station had fallen from 97.5 efficiency to 0% in just under 2 minutes early this morning." Without taking his eyes off the view screen, he nodded. "I take it then you didn't make much headway today," he offered, glancing in her general direction for effect. He tilted the controls lightly as they swooped over the tree line. Lotor takes its precious time in removing stations from grids, hoping that the problems will fix itself. She ran her fingers through her head fur. "Nothing in this world matters to them anymore except this tech. We could very well be in the early stages of a worldwide catastrophe," and they smile and nod approvingly. "You got that right," he agreed, firing the reverse thrusters as they descended into a gorge. "These new dogs don't care nothing about us. Now, don't get me wrong, I love this stuff," he corrected, motioning to the controls of the skimmer. "It's just that I can't see forsaking the past to take advantage of it. We got a way of life that means a lot to us, and I know I wouldn't be the first to fight to keep it around." Kira fixed her eyes blankly outside. What did she believe? Wasn't she just as enthusiastic as anyone about the extreme advances in technology? Of the substance that would forever alter the future of her race? No, she wasn't. She was much more enthusiastic. So much so that she was trading time with her husband and son to be able to be a part of the impending evolution. And what about the past? It was nice to study, to remember the origins and practices of her society, but was it important to her? She glanced at Jean. Was tradition that important, given what they'd been given? The point that he was making, however, seemed to be one of self-identity. How do you see the past, Jean? She pondered. He thought for a moment, setting the craft inches off the water-filled basin of the gorge, itself creating an amazing rift of wake. If those outsiders had never showed up, you would have been taking the rail home tonight. We built that rail, miss. We invented it, constructed it, and perfected it. It's ours. And this ship? Is it ours? Not hardly. We may have built it, but it isn't ours. I guess that's how I view it. I don't mind the stuff we were getting out of this technology, but I don't want it to take away us. He yanked open a transparent casing and took hold of the control stick. You see this? He said, directing his full attention to Kira. This stick controls the zenith cannon on the ship. Jean flicked his paw left and right, and the small screen adjacent to the stick flickered to life, showing a panning view of the water speeding beneath the craft. As they slowly tapped the trigger, ruby bolts erupted onto the screen and stabbed the water, creating instant puffs of vapor that wrapped themselves around the lens. She stared at the screen, unable to withhold her curiosity. That's incredible. She stopped to absorb the point. I've never seen it before, she confessed. Jean nodded as he closed the panel and reattained manual control of the craft. Exactly. And why is that? Because we have no need for it. This is why I'm concerned. We're following the instructions of a greater power without stopping for even a minute to consider the necessity or feasibility. So I guess what I'm saying is that we should embrace the technology, but it shouldn't be in a way that forsakes our ability to reason. Kira was astounded in Jean's change in tone, so much so that she felt comfortable pushing in. Jean, I agree completely, and I wish everyone on this planet shared our opinion. Sadly, that's not the case. You recognized me. You knew where I stand on the issue. He nodded, his serious demeanor still present. Dark matter is a serious threat to our society. This substance may not be inherently evil, but its altering of our energy supply has caused many to blind themselves to the direction of our culture. And now... She trailed off. The concept sunk into both raccoons, who quietly pondered the idea as the picturesque landscape blew past the viewports. Trees shook in their wake, occasionally being sprayed by the displaced water. Soon the craft crested into the open air, leaving a pristine waterfall behind it as it drove towards the approaching platform. There's no need to worry, Kira said, attempting to donate a comfort she couldn't accept herself. There's a lot I don't like about this tech, but there isn't anything up to this point to suggest that it has anything to do with our losing power. The craft slowed, its stabilization thrusters centering the craft over the platform. The main concern I have is that my work will become the focus of our society at the expense of what really matters. So, Jean, she put a paw on his shoulders, go home, get some rest, be with your family. She removed her headset and gently placed it on its rack. He gave a reassuring nod and a wave, reaching with his free paw to open the hatch. Holding the smile to her face, Kira exited, stepped back a few paces, and returned the wave as the hatch hissed closed and the sleek red dart zipped away back into the gorge. She closed her eyes and took a deep breath, allowing the cold mountain air to fill her lungs. She was greeted with a remarkable sight as her eyes fell back open. Standing on the metallic platform, she was but a short stroll from a magnificent waterfall. Her eyes were drawn from the water to another path of smooth stones leading to a small, reasonable structure. The iridescent panels covering the roof cast many colors across the residence. Kira took a second to express gratitude to the rows of shrubs in front. She turned around and smiled at the most beautiful spot in the world. As the sun was calling it a night, the grass waved at Kira. She smiled, taking it all in for what it was, and nothing more. And in that single moment, she was light years away from worry. For now.
A lot to take in. Implemented technology. Some mysterious incident. Doubts. It's been years. I see a visibly frustrated person walking down a large set of steps. There's like a bundle of something, like papers, under their arm. Help me understand this situation.
Is Kira or Jean in the vision?
Yes.
Are they researching something?
They were.
Can you read what's on the papers?
No.
Are they the ones on the stairs?
You may have to ask that another way.
Is the thing they are carrying in the cloth heavy? Is the ISC there?
Not heavy. No ISC.
Is that individual Kyra?
Yes, I think so.
Is the stairs connected to a building?
Yes. A very large building. Why is she frustrated?
Are the papers handled in a way that indicates they're important?
Necessary, maybe, not important. I don't know. Not a lot of care given to them, no.
Is the building a government building? Did their research fail?
Government building, yes. No. Failure is mixed in here, but not there's no research failure, no.
Is it a research building?
No.
Are the politicians dragging their feet?
What an interesting question. It sort of feels like that.
Are politicians the root of all evil? Is this a bill that didn't get passed? Was the research program scrapped?
It all feels right. It's not it, but it's very close.
Can you tell if the buddling is related to energy generation?
This situation was, in some way, yeah. The building, no. Are politicians the root of all evil? In many cases. Unrelated to the current quandary. Well, maybe. Who knows? A bill that didn't get passed. That doesn't feel right.
Was the project handed to someone else?
Not someone else.
Was Kira trying to convince them of something?
Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
Was the project deemed unsafe?
No.
Was there a sabotage in the power plant? Was Kira trying to become a politician?
No to both. So
Was Kira talking about dark matter?
Yes.
Was the project not feasible with then present-day technology?
No, all quests were feasible. She's obviously upset. She
Are the
was...
papers ones that Kira created?
Yes. Yes. She was recently discussing dark matter.
Was it something to do with the accident from the last memory? Something to do with the reactor?
Yes.
Was Kira there to present something?
Yes.
Did the research present less than desirable results? Was the reactor damaged?
I feel a genuine disappointment from Kira, but I don't think it was because the results were less than desirable. Well, not from the research.
Was Kira's presentation rejected?
So that's it then, she challenged, throwing her pen down onto the podium in disgust. That's the decision you're going to
Did the
make.
reactor breaking down
We aren't
affect the
making a
sig-
decision, thundered back the soft, stern voice of the councilman over the speakers of the large auditorium. We are merely disagreeing with your assessment of the situation. That is why the teams will be dispatched on a standard schedule and not immediately as you requested. They will then make the decision in a calculated, calm manner, apart from the chaos of the moment. The chances that this situation is somehow intertwined with dark matter extraction are very high, Kira threw back. And even though you clearly understand that this new society is entirely dependent on this process, you choose to write it off as some technical error in a structure that has never before reported such a serious symptom. She turned to face the other council members, each eyeing her with great disdain. I realize that you do not wish to risk panic and confusion around the globe due to something that may be resolved simply, but the fact of the matter is that the potential for disaster is too heavy for you to push away to a secondary priority. It must be dealt with now. Please. Enough, declared the head of the board. Your findings are inconclusive, show no signs of danger, and your demands are too great for such an isolated incident. He stood, motioning for the others to stand as well. A team will be dispatched as soon as they are available. That is our ruling, true, and final. With that, he clasped his paws together and nodded. As the two blue-clad guards flanking the exit behind the council pulled the heavy white marble doors ajar, the members turned to exit, each lending a short glance in her general direction. Kira's eyes narrowed, moving her paws without emotion as she methodically collected and filed her papers, turning slightly and squatting to deposit them in her briefcase. She stood, straightened her outfit, and with a grimace at the state of things, exited through the standard sliding entrance to the hall, along with the few onlookers that had sat quietly through the mockery they called proceedings.
As Kira reached the archway emptying into the main city square, she was greeted to great whites and sheens, to fountains and smooth finished marble covering walls and floors. Down the flowing stairs of the Capitol building sat a moderately large plaza, bordered on each side by small buildings reaching desperately into the sky, their shadows crawling in slow motion. Raised in the center sat a large rose quartz fountain, its crystal clear water showering down onto the surrounding tiles and trickling away. The sound was complemented by the soft padding of hundreds of paws, each covered in fur of a similar color, but attached to owners of a different face. These plutocrats created a soft barrier of apathy, their faces showing no respect for the beauty surrounding them. A small shake of her head was all the mind she paid them as she stepped down and out into the courtyard. Just as she walked past the outer spray of the fountain, she felt the presence of a follower, of footsteps closing in on her own. She turned around to face a shabby-looking female of medium height, wearing a pilot's outfit and sporting a purple vertical scar over her left eye. She jolted, seemingly surprised at Kira's about-face, reaching a hand up to her chest to steady herself. After pushing off the shock, she smiled half-heartedly and mouthed, I saw your hearing back there." Kira smiled back as she took in the stranger, noticing a frizzled tail and longer fur on her body. And I think you're completely right," she responded, her face suddenly expressing enthusiasm. "Those bastards don't even have the first clue as to how to run a government." "Now, I don't know if I'd go that far," Kira interjected, smiling at the slightly younger raccoon zeal. "They do have a bit more knowledge about how this planet is run than I, but I can wholeheartedly agree that their decision today was just another step in the wrong direction down a path we've been heading for too long." She looked over the raccoon's gray jumpsuit, scanning for a name. "So who might you be?" she settled. "Valdez, ma'am," she answered quickly, shaking Kira's paw without hesitation. "But you can call me Val." She took a small step back. "You know, I've been waiting for something like this to happen. Something going wrong with one of these reactors. They just don't seem to want to do anything about it. I know, 'cause of the money, but you think they'd take some sort of precaution?" "Oh, but they did," Kira mocked. "In their eyes, anyway. We'll see what happens." Val nodded. Good way to stay calm. She looked around at the business traffic populating the square. "You want to walk back with me to my ship? I'd really love to chat with you for a few before I have to take off." "Sure," Kira agreed. She motioned for Val to lead the way and fell into step behind her, weaving in and out of the other beings. "You think any of them notice us?" she asked. "I doubt it," Val responded. "My jobs take me here all the time, and I've yet to hear a single guy ask me to dinner." "Maybe it's my technique," she said as she threw her hands up into the air and smiled. Kira pressed a few more questions into Val. "So, what are you doing here? You said something about jobs." "Yeah, I'm a courier if it isn't obvious. Got contracts all over the place for urgent deliveries, on-call, unpredictable stuff. It's nice. I get my own craft, I have authorization for most of the sky, and I get to see a lot of scenery." Not even believing it herself, she corrected, "It's a living, either way." "I know what you mean," Kira agreed. "I used to work as a runner for the pharmaceutical company I interned at. It wasn't great, but I was glad for it." "Seems no one wants jobs like that anymore," Val commented, walking into a hallway with a low ceiling and bad lighting. "This whole place has gotten to the point where that quick and easy are all that people are aiming for. There's no incentives to do the tough stuff. Ever since this place has been on an outer space kick, it's been a different world. No more adventure, no more fun. It's just government needs this, and new tech taxes that." And even after all the overhead they've got coming in off those reactors, they still can't find a way to make life easier. She ducked into an alcove and tapped a combination into a neon green touchpad. One of the many doors lining the dark hallway opened and laid a light stream across the floor. Kira nodded and stepping into the doorway after her. They walked into a dome-shaped room housing a small craft, evidently the one Val had mentioned. "So, what exactly did you want to talk about?" she prodded, realizing that they had reached their destination. Val turned and looked around the room, resting her eyes on a small table inset into the concrete walls. She motioned for Kira to follow, and the two sat, both craning their backs to relax. "So," she started, cupping her paws together and setting them on the table, "what's really going on at the reactor?" Kira gave her a strange look. "I don't quite follow." "Oh. Huh," Val said, looking to her left. Silence ensued for some time. "You really don't know what's going on?" she asked, shocked, her nose quivering. Kira shrugged and stood. "Not a clue. And before you apologize, it's no problem. I appreciate the curiosity." She laughed along with Val as they walked to her ship. "Well, it was nice meeting you, Kira," she offered, shaking her paw goodbye. "I just wish this little problem that brought us together was a little less abstract." She ran her paw down the side of the craft. "I mean, we keep pulling this energy from nowhere. Maybe it's just biding its time. Let's hope not, Kira finished, stomping her left paw as she stood up straight. Safe travels, Val. I hope to see you again someday. Yes, ma'am. Same goes for you, Val replied happily, climbing the ladder to the cockpit hatch. Kira turned around and walked to the door, smiling to herself about the different faces her line of work and reputation led her into contact with. As she reached for the keypad, a small trill sounded from her briefcase, indicating a message left on her datapad. Val's head poked around to search for the origin of the sound, and Kira waved it off, reaching for the pad. As she pulled it out, she perked, motioning for Val to come over to take a look. "Check this out," she said, surprised. With both of them looking on, she read the contents aloud. A third-level cooling unit has failed, requesting all available personnel to Electric Room B for diagnosis. Looks like your problem's getting more complicated, Val indicated with a flick of her paw. Failure's never good in my line of work. It's not in mine either, Kira replied. I've got to get back. She glanced at Val for a long time, Val's face turning from concern to enthusiasm. Would you like me to take you? She asked excitedly.
Today is a special day. Tomorrow you leave us, but today we honor you. You are about to set out on a journey that was inevitable, yet one that many on this station wished you'd never have to take. We worked to ensure that your life would be normal, one in which you could grow, learn, and become a functional member of society. This journey will most certainly lead you to disappointment in one form or another. Time alters perception. A walk through the past is a treacherous one. Be diligent in your quest, but do not forget that your choices only affect the future. Find what you can, but do not become a recluse of the past. This is a large step for you, but you have already come so far. Since the day we met, you have surpassed all expectations. In just 4 short years, you have risen to the task. Continue to apply yourself in everything that you do. I have no doubt I will see you again someday. May the winds give you speed.
Did expect that there. This is more confusing than I thought it would be. Alright. Things are not going well on Kira's world, but I see a smoldering ship. There's like an impact crater. No, not a crater. Just a mark, a line in the sand. There are 2 bodies nearby. There's smoke. What is happening here?
Is Kira dead?
Kira is not dead.
Are they both dead?
No. One is alive. Barely. For long, I don't know. Is Val there? No.
Is the one that's alive harming the other?
No.
Who is the second person?
I
What
want
type of
to.
ship is this?
I can only answer
Was it
simple
carrying
questions.
something important?
Was it carrying something important? I Hard to say, so much is important.
Can you see a dark matter reactor?
I do, I think.
Kira rocked back in her seat, shaking her mind from stasis as she watched the mountains pass under the ship, the leafy canopy below reaching into the sky. She rubbed her eyes and smoothed out her head fur as she mentally prepared herself for the task ahead. What was she to find? Would it be dangerous? Or would it be nothing at all? As she rolled her shoulders, she imagined it would more than likely only serve to add to the mystery. "There it is," she instructed, startled by the sound of her own voice, having been silent for so long. "I'll say," Val crackled, a bit taken aback. "Couldn't have missed it if I'd tried. I know you said it was big, but that looks close to 3 clicks across." "Good guess," Kira replied, sitting up straight to peer at the facility. As the ship descended into an elongated valley cut deep into the earth, it sped toward a barren circle, the middle of which housed a large cylindrical tower. A high-reaching antenna shot from the center, its top-mounted light pulsing ruby red to the facility's heartbeat. Around the cylindrical structure was a ring-shaped opening that peered into the depths of the facility's inner workings. Val brought the ship into sharp descent, leveling just short of the tall, flowing, grassy field. They sped toward the tower at a moderate speed just inches from the ground, suddenly breaking onto the sand-covered circle. Clouds of the stuff began to lift in their wake as they closed the distance to the small, blue-lit landing platform. Val nodded and rocked the nose of the freighter upward slightly, firing the reverse thrusters to bring the ship into a slow descent onto the shiny white metallic platform. Air jets hissed as the landing equipment met the surface, easing the ship to a standstill. Both raccoons quickly undid the harnesses and placed their headsets onto their respective hooks, standing in unison. Leaving the comfort of the ship, Kira took a light step onto the metal, its coolness amidst the warm setting unsettling. She shielded her eyes as they adjusted. The deserted ring appeared as it always had, its bland yellow harsh against the surrounding green of the rest of the valley. She turned away as the wind picked up. She yelled, "Val, you coming anytime soon?" Val's purple-streaked head popped out of the hatch, running out as if she'd been anticipating the offer. And with that, she trotted off the platform and toward the facility. Kira smiled and shook her head, stepping off the platform and into step with her travel companion. "So this is the only way in?" Val asked, peering at the long walkway from the landing platform to the front entrance. "It actually depends on where you're going," Kira replied. "If it's to the offices, then yes, this is the only way. As you can see, the path connects to this mountain entrance." She motioned to a black hole in the side of the valley wall, which leads back to the mag-rail station. That's where most of my colleagues come in from. Now, she paused and turned to the desert to her left. "If you're bringing in large parts, there are service tunnels, one at each quadrant, that helix down around the underground dome, stopping at each of the 3 levels."
Something isn't right.
"Wow,
about
very
this.
good. You're a natural," Val smirked as she clapped. Kira rolled her eyes. The two stepped up to a small, rubber-covered catwalk extending over a moat-like hole that dove deep into the facility's insides. Crossbeams connected the center cylinder to the exterior terrain at 8 equally spaced points. What we're about to pass over is the heat release ring. It allows the majority of the byproduct heat generated to escape. In the case of emergency, these, she pointed to the crossbeams, will extend metal sheets over the ring, sealing it from the outside climate. Val gingerly tiptoed onto the wire catwalk, peering through its thousands of holes at the machinery hundreds of feet below. "It's all right. I was scared to death every time I walked over this for at least a month after I transferred here," Kira reassured, strolling onto it as she left Val in her frightened state. She reached for a small black square to the right of a doorframe, her paw fitting flat over the translucent blue outline of a paw print. Small red lines of light passed over her paw. Eventually, a delightful trill sounded, and her fur turned a slight green tint. The doors slid softly into the walls as she withdrew her paw and motioned for Val to step inside ahead of her. Kira withdrew a small remote and flicked a switch, immediately drawing it close to her muzzle. "Locate," she commanded.
That isn't... Is that anything? A ship in the sand. 2 bodies. I don't think we've got it. What? Can you continue your line of inquiry? I think there's more to this. A smoldering ship.
Is there a reactor to the west?
I can't tell what direction I'm seeing this in. There is a reactor nearby. I don't...
Is there any sign of sabotage on the ship?
What would sabotage look like? It doesn't feel like that. I'm not sure.
Is the reactor intact? Are there any large holes on the outside of the ship?
This is a lot. Is the reactor intact? It's hard to tell. There is so much fire and smoke. Maybe? There's... I don't know if I'd call it a hole. The ship appears to be in 2 pieces.
Is there anyone else there?
Other than the 2 bodies? No.
Is Val dead? Is it Kira and Val?
It's not... Val is not present.
Is there a ship there?
It is a ship in 2 pieces, both having slid a long distance in the sand.
Is it anyone we have seen before?
I think so.
Is the ship salvageable?
I don't... No, it's not.
What is on fire? The reactor or the ship?
I can't tell. There's so much fire. Probably both.
Is the other person Jean? Is it Kira?
Got it, she replied, reaching a paw out of the crawl space. Keys, please. Right on target, the ring clanged into her outstretched mitt, and it quickly disappeared again. She waited for Val's response, but nothing came for a few seconds. Val stopped moving, seemingly confused. What am I looking for again? She asked. There should be a large coil, about 2 meters long, tightly compressed, maybe ½ meter in diameter. Kira paused for a second. No movement from Val. It should be the only thing in there. It'd be hard to miss, she added. Val's tail curled to the left. So, what if there's nothing in here? She shot back. Kira's blood again ran cold. Double check, you're in 216B, she said. She quickly tabbed to the map again, verifying their location. She pulled out her comm and twisted it a quarter circle, activating the flashlight base. Catch. Val's face peered out and caught the comm in her muzzle. A few seconds later, she confirmed. Nothing, she said. Val, back out real quick, Kira commanded, prepping the camera on her tablet. Once Val appeared from under the structure, Kira took the flashlight, climbed underneath, and saw what she would never believe. The failsafe coil was gone. There were no signs of forced removal, no unclean surfaces, not even any scorching on the edges. She finished the recording and sent it to the others above, climbing to her feet. What have you guys found? She asked, trying to stay calm. We have no idea, Kira. There's been no maintenance done on that unit ever. At least nothing that can uncover that coil. The only thing that we can think that might have happened is that the coil was never installed, and for some reason, neither was the failsafe. So maybe it had nothing to do with the failsafe coil. Keep digging, she replied before she stowed the tablet. Val pointed up at it with a pen. It's like shimmering or something. The two curious critters peered closer at the helix coil. Kira noticed a faint shimmer at the edges of the part, like the light was being distorted. Kira once again pulled out her tablet and pointed it directly at the coil. A small grid of lasers shot out, dotting the coil with millimeter-sized red circles. She looked down at the screen and shook her head. No, it's not hot, she stated quizzically, looking up at the coil and back down at the temperature reading. She glanced up at Val to see her jump down. A second later, her adrenaline began to fly into her system as she pointed up at the panel. It was gone. Val, look! The coil! Val glanced up and was dumbfounded. The coil was no longer anywhere to be found. Shortly thereafter, the sounds of grinding gears and screeching metal filled the corridor, causing both raccoons to cover their ears in terror. Kira fiercely nodded to Val as she ran out of the passageway, snaking back and forth until they arrived back outside. She yanked her comm out and yelled into it, Guys! What's happening to the second cooling unit?" Her face curled in a confused expression. "Wait a minute. Val, this is the only one online." A beat of silence. "Let's get out of here." They took off down the corridor network. Not long after they exited back onto the main catwalk, her tablet began to beep furiously at the highest volume possible. In an effort to silence the thing, Kira took a look at the screen and snapped her neck up to look at the giant generators suspended at the ceiling. No. There's no way. How is this possible? Isn't the failsafe supposed to shut off the extractor? Kira slowed for a second to fall back beside Val. "Val," she yelled, huffing. "The generators are going critical. The failsafe isn't..." At that second, a gigantic explosion rocked the cavern, its resonating blow causing the two to dart their gaze. They could see nothing. Kira rounded a corner and saw a base of the elevator shaft, its saving presence just over a half a kilometer away. She looked up at the generators, fearing the worst. She glanced back at Val. "Come on, hurry!" she barked, and broke out into a flat-out run. No sooner did she commit to the path than the container directly to her left exploded in a brilliant yellow flash, stopping the two raccoons in their tracks. The sound was so deafening that their paws were instantly over their ears. After their eyes recovered, they saw a great amount of liquid plasma in the air raining down over the complex floor. Kira stared at it hovering in the air, dumbfounded, as it began to arc back and descend toward them. "Kira!" she heard a voice shout. Suddenly, she was tackled from behind, sending her plowing into the nearby railing over the edge and tumbling down into the pipe array. She scrambled to get to her feet and ducked under a nearby pipe. Peering back up, she screamed. Val's body was in flames. Screams were ringing in her ears. Val caught Kira's gaze as plasma melted her face into her skull. Her body crumbled, her lifeless remains splattering through the catwalk and onto the hallways below. "No!" Kira wailed, tears pouring from her burning eyes. She jumped back to the surface, not being able to help herself. She crawled to Val's remains, pouring out her despair and anguish. "Val! Why? Val!" Another large explosion sounded, causing Kira to instantly shoot under another pipe. After the plasma poured past her, she bounced back to the catwalk and engaged her muscles as fast as they would let her move. Thoughts screamed through her brain, racking her body with a crushing mixture of dejection and adrenaline. Val was dead, and it was her fault. No, she died to save you, Kira. Don't let her death be in vain. She rushed at the shaft just before a shockwave propelled her backwards, throwing her across the catwalk, ripping large gashes in her flesh. She heard the shattering of glass and saw the entire column that led to safety vanish, with millions of deadly needles replacing it. She bounced back to the closest safety she could find, a few shards slicing into her tail, causing her to yell in pain. Now what? She grabbed her comm with her trembling paws and activated the link. Help! She screamed. Kira, you're alive? Came a voice that sounded somewhat familiar. Where are you? I need to know fast. Can you help me out? Kira looked around, even though she knew exactly where she was. I'm in the lowest level of the reactor, hiding under a pipe. Who is this? It's Jean, barked back the static-filled transmission. Oliver let me know you were still inside. It's no use, she cried, sobbing uncontrollably. There's no way in. The shaft just blew into 1,000,000 pieces. Kira, I need you to help me help you, he calmly reported back. You need to get to the edge of the facility. Get as close to the service tunnel as you can. I'll be there in a minute. The service tunnels? There's no way you could fly in those. But the transmission had been cut, and she had no other choice. She hopped onto the catwalk, screaming as the shards in her feet sliced into her digits. She did her best to tear them out, but with little care, she tore through the facility, knowing nothing else to do. The sounds surrounding her folded, bleeding ears were vociferous, but she didn't hear a thing. That image of Val would not leave her mind's eye, her burning flesh. Oh, she was so young. Why did she have to go? How did she save me? How did she know where to push me? She shook her head, trying to focus on the situation, but the flaming metal and glass all around her made it difficult. After a bit of running, she reached the large service tunnel at the base of the level she was on. It opened into a cyclical venue about 10 meters wide, barely the wingspan of Jean's ship. Impossible, she thought. But sure enough, a few tense minutes later, Jean blew out of the tube, turning the skipper 180 degrees on a dime and landed on the catwalk. Get in, please, he yelled, polite to the end. Kira didn't need to be told twice. She lunged into that open hatch, resting against the seat and pulling the headset on as fast as possible. Jean closed the hatch and powered up the drive. All right now, you need to hold on very tight. With that warning, he blew back into the tunnel, using the ship's headlights to navigate the darkness. Kira, sprawled in the seat, looked at her tablet for any updated information. Alarmed, she barked at Jean. The tunnel's out at the top! Well, hope you're up for some shooting, he replied. He flipped up the casing on the Zenith cannon controls and gestured to Kira. You better get ready. Won't be long till we're on it. Just as she wrapped a damaged paw around the stick, the ship shook, the third generator spewing plasma all over from inside the reactor. Luckily, the service tunnels wrapped outside the underground section, protecting them from the spray. Is this place gonna blow? He asked Kira intently. She peered down at her tablet and pulled up the reactor stats. It sure looks that way, she said. All of her work, gone in a matter of seconds. Then, just like it had started, another surge of alarm and adrenaline shot through her. We've only got half a minute at best. Well, you'd better get that cannon ready, he replied. She wrapped her paw around it, eyeing the small screen on the bottom of the panel. She instantly looked away, its camera showing just how close to the chamber walls Jean was flying. I'd start shooting! Kira squeezed the trigger, sending red bolts of energy at the falling debris in the tunnel. The impact sent red flares into the air in front of them as the cannon sliced a hole just big enough for them to pass through. She continued to aim and fire, align and squeeze, until they had made it into the exit approach. This is gonna be a tight one, miss. I'd buckle up. Kira reached down and strapped her tattered body to the seat, pleading that they'd make it in time. She glanced at the tablet screen and flinched, seeing an explosion rocketing toward the top of the facility. Both raccoons saw the sunlight at the end of the corridor. And just as the ship blew out of the tunnel, the facility erupted in flames, destroying the entire above-ground complex. Yeah! Jean screamed. Kira turned her head to look at him, but as she did, she saw a flash of red light, and then felt only open air. Her craft was hundreds of meters in the sky as it began spiraling out of control. The entire left half of the craft had been torn off by some impact, and Kira was left with no choice but to eject. She closed her eyes and pressed the button, which sent her seat catapulting into the air. Vertigo ensued as the atmosphere and landmass continually swapped places. Eventually, the parachute deployed, but not soon enough. Her ejected seat slammed into the sea of sand. Just like that, everything stopped moving. Her body seemed to be intact, but her muscles refused to work. She tilted her head from side to side, and when she remembered Jean, she jumped to life and hobbled back toward the facility. In the distance, she saw the flaming reactor, billowing smoke and lances of sparks into the air. She scanned for the craft's debris and quickly spotted the two halves of the red dart, one with a crushed nose, the other with a missing seat. She ran as fast as her ravaged body would allow until she reached Jean's ripped driver's side. His body was lying in his seat, snugly strapped in, but was not moving. She began to run dry of tears as she undid his supports and tried to bring him to life. He rolled his eyes to look at her, forcing a smile. "Kira," he spattered as blood flew from his muzzle's lips. "It was worth it," he responded to her morbid silence. His eyes rolled back into his head, and his weight became too much for her weakening, tar-tipped appendages. She fell on top of him, burying her muzzle into his soft tail, draining what energy she had left. In the distance, the old windmills churned away, oblivious to the destruction. In all the dunes of the valley that contained the destruction, one lone raccoon remained, battered and sobbing.
To our benevolent benefactors, we are in dire need. We are being assaulted by an invisible, silent force. Please send help. We did everything you instructed. We have followed all plans exactly, kept every rule. For many cycles your guidance has benefited us. But suddenly and without any warning, something has begun to attack. A silent predator devouring machines and people alike. Our resources are being destroyed. Our infrastructure is being rendered inoperable. Our people are disappearing, snatched away without warning. No struggle, no sound. We are under attack and we cannot fight back. We know it is forbidden to broadcast on this channel before your return, but we have no options left. Please send help to the place you call Beta Procyon. We await, diminished and desperate, for your answer.
The air was festive, but that was hardly the attitude I held inside, and I suspected it was the same for the others. I peered around the room from the secrecy of my visor. As I marked off pilots on the roster, a few names caught my eye. Every year the tournament was held, many newcomers replaced leaving veterans with the rookies entering the amateurs. This time, we had an extremely young rookie competing in the professional league, and I hadn't heard much commotion in the bar or pilots said about this newcomer. I keyed up his bio, and his stats astounded me. A minor had qualified as the 15th seed in the tournament. It's one thing to enter the pros to knock off the losers in the bottom tiers, but to qualify 15th? I stood slowly, glancing around the room as I searched for this mysterious novice. If I were a rookie raccoon, where would I be? Not a second passed before I exited the hallway and laid my eyes upon the bushiest tail I'd ever seen, its alternating pattern of brown and black highlights traveling from the tip to the body. His paws and feet wrapped in velvet black, and the remainder of his form was bathed in shades of grayish-brown. His face was glued to the spaceport, his eyes fixed to distant points, and his figure shuddered at every tight maneuver of the starfighters battling outside. A creature jumped when my hand fell on his shoulder. Nervous? The raccoon rotated to stare at me, nodding his masked face. I began to chat with the creature, determining quickly that his skills far surpassed his level of maturity. I expected nothing less. Not long after minor introductions, he commented that it was his turn to fly. I waited, transfixed by curiosity, as he made his way to the hangar. I wondered how I would tell my new friend from the rest, but it was almost immediate. His ship blew out of the bay, much faster than standard exit speed. His fighter slowed and drifted to the most difficult sector from which to start the competition. The other ships made their way to their origin points, each signaling when ready. A flare fired, its red trail streaking through the field, illuminating the reflected surfaces of the ships. It began with a standard scare tactic. The craft in Sector 6 began the battle by blindly firing a heat-seeking warhead. I tracked the missile through its course, but was taken aback to see the young Raccoon ship already diving into a snap roll and powering the afterburners to full, steering right at the missile. He shifted the craft barely away from the impact trajectory and quickly banked starboard, clearing the missile easily and placing his craft in position to take advantage of his overconfident assailant. Bolts lanced from the rookie ship, punching the underside of the Sector 6 craft until it was eliminated. Not a minute into the round, a nervous, shaking, green pilot had made one of the most advanced responses possible to a valid attack. When the pilot came back into the station, he was met with mixed reviews, many accusing tones reflective of jealousy, and just as many praises with ulterior motives. Regardless, this pilot was years ahead of his time. I'll have to keep an eye on this kid.
Where these keep coming from? Forgive me, I was not prepared for these scenes to be so graphic. Okay, let's continue. I see her, Kira, standing outside of a machine. It's a small machine. She's looking through a window at cubes? I'm not sure if they're close to cubes arranged inside of it. She's waiting. Why is this significant? What's going on here? What is she doing?
Is this Kira testing the reactor? Are the cubes stacked neatly or haphazardly inside the vehicle?
She's not testing the reactor. That's been destroyed. The cubes are, yeah, neatly enough? Not like arranged like perfectly, but arranged by someone with a care for precision, I suppose.
Are the cubes glowing?
No.
Is Kira next to a vehicle or a device? Is it a Rubik's Cube?
Yeah, she's standing right next to this machine. It's small. It only holds, say, 4 of these cubes.
Is the machine larger or smaller than Kira?
About the same size. Not very large.
Is there a war happening?
No.
Are the cubes all identical?
Yes. Maybe not strictly identical, but they would appear to all
Are
be
the
the
cubes
same.
some kind of energy?
That's hard. It feels right and wrong. They do store energy.
Are the cubes made of dark matter?
No.
Are the cubes batteries?
Yes.
Is Kira waiting for batteries to recharge?
No. They all feel...
Do the cubes belong to the reactors?
No. Battery.
Is Kira trying to make a distress signal? Or a flare?
No, she's trying to make something.
Do the cubes contain different measurements of energy?
No, they all feel relatively the same. All the batteries seem to have the same potential energy.
Are the batteries powering a ship? Do the cubes belong to spacecraft?
The batteries are not powering a ship. Do the cubes belong to a spacecraft? No.
Is she using the batteries to power something?
She plans to.
Are the cubes colored in a meaningful way? Is the batteries for a weapon?
They're not colored, and no, they're not for a weapon.
Is she investigating the cause of the accident?
I think so, but not the cause. I mean, not the reactor specifically.
Does she have any visible scars from her accident?
Yeah, she's still healing, I think. There's visible damage, but unrelated.
Are the batteries used for medical reasons?
I don't...
Are the batteries used to power a vehicle?
No vehicle, not medical reasons. There's something there. Pick at that. I would say no, but it's not 100% no.
Is she trying to find evidence of the cause of the accident?
She knows. Or thinks she knows. Maybe?
Are the batteries used to try to revive Jean?
No.
Do the batteries have the power for sustaining a life other than her own?
Theoretically. That's part of it. But it's for her too.
Are the batteries used to power a spacesuit or life support system? Does she have any tensions of Jean?
Once Kira opened the transparent swing door, gas began to pour out into the air as the pressure quickly equalized. She grimaced, the cold air snaking in between her fur, licking her sores and spawning a shiver from her neck to the tip of her ringtail. Just do it, she thought. She ventured a paw deep into the cooler, feeling around for the batteries in the back corner of the cryo chamber. After a bit of fishing, she wrapped her warm-blooded paw around an icy-cold object, its connectors protruding from the top. She shook each one loose from its respective coupling and removed them, setting each in a plexoplast box and quickly sealing it. The box fogged with condensation on the inside. Should have worn gloves, she chastised herself, shaking her paw to get the blood flowing again. But no matter, she didn't have time to worry about cold paws. She heard her comm alerting incessantly, so she quickly scooped up the pair of boxes and headed back into her makeshift office. After carefully depositing them on her desk, she snatched her tablet and pressed the accept button on the pending message. "Hey doll, how's the work going, Roger?" How could he be so casual at a time like this? She rolled the device about in her paw, mulling over a response. "Batteries just came out, I'll let you know what happens in a bit, doll." She smiled. How long had she been here? A couple days at least. The hours were starting to take their toll, causing her eyes feel strained and stretched, their weight increasing with each passing moment. She brought her black paws up to her face and rubbed the tortured areas, trying to regain some manner of strength as she strode to the large windows of the office building. Once she finished her revitalization efforts, she peered down to the walkways below, still taken aback at how barren they were. But the happenings of the world were too harsh to support the bustle of business. Even now, she was surprised to see a couple out below, walking hastily toward an unknown location. Once the news reports had hit the airwaves, it was impossible to keep the information back. Despite her warnings, the Council allowed continued, full extraction at the matter reactors. That night, the rest of the planet found out just how dangerous they could be. Most of them self-destructed one by one, killing hundreds. The Council had tried damage control, but when word got out about her debate with the Council that morning, they couldn't be forgiven. Riots exploded all over Lotta, with the military being mobilized to prevent further disaster. Meanwhile, the majority of the world was left without power. The wind turbines were up and running within the hour, but the lines running from the ancient power source didn't come close to making up for the loss of the dark matter reactors. Then the invisible killer attacked. It started with many calls of citizens reported as missing, but inevitably it was caught on video. Apparently, and she knew it was connected, the side effects of this strange dark matter malfunction had leaked into the air, and somehow was causing life to well disappear. The matter was there 1 second and gone the next. No noise, no smell, just the faint distortion of air around the matter, which was exactly the symptoms that the failsafe coils had exhibited. Something was striking back, claiming lives at random, with no end in sight and no pattern to the madness. Food lines were rerouted to focus only the major communities, most businesses were shut down, and a state of emergency was issued over the entire planet, with local officials offering aid to anyone placed in a position of peril due to the worldwide restrictions. The problem, however, was that there was no solution on the horizon. Blindly, they had issued a radio frequency call for help into space, hoping that whoever had visited those years ago would somehow be able to help. A long shot, to be sure, but the move gave her reassurance that the Council was now ready to shed their pride and move to solve the crisis. In the meantime, Kira knew that if she wanted to investigate this on her own, she had to move quickly before all the matter reactors were quarantined. She had convinced Roger to fly her back to the wreckage of her research reactor to extract a number of artifacts. While there, she had taken a number of readings with various pieces of equipment, trying to find some semblance to a documented phenomenon, but nothing had shown any kind of indication that there was any change in any measurable sense. It was at that time, however, that she developed a hypothesis that could possibly explain the situation. The dark matter reactors collected matter and somehow converted the dark matter contained within into usable energy. The short-term consequences are known: a small amount of containable radiation and a large amount of usable energy. However, the long-term effects were impossible to know due to the infancy of the technology. Some speculated that the matter was being converted without harm, but others saw an imbalance in the law of conservation of energy. What was being left in the void that was created by the dark matter? Was it simply being shifted into usable energy, or was it being mutated into something different altogether? Now that these matter reactors were spawning spontaneous destruction, she had been inclined to think more of the latter. Working to extend that line of thought, she thought that perhaps as the dark matter was being turned to energy, the energy left in the matter was being converted back to a dark energy of sorts, inverting the ratio of dark matter to tangible matter. However, since this was not the natural way of things, there would be a time when this inversion would begin to affect the tangibility of real matter. In other words, the accumulation of dark energy would begin to try to correct this imbalance. If the dark energy were to gather over an energy source, say a generator or a living being, it could very well pull them out of existence, moving their matter back to a dark state, and coming closer to the original balance of things. If this was true, she now had the possibility to solve the problem. It seemed as though it was her life's challenge, presenting itself in the right place at the right time. After explaining to Roger her decision to explore protection from this reclamation, she took a tram into the local city and took up residence in her research company's unused office complex. It was eerily quiet and barren, but it was a perfect environment in which to work. So far, she had made a good bit of progress, finding evidence that supported the quality of dark energy to gravitate toward a source of energy. She put the guest to the test, fitting a navbot with a conductive fabric that ran electricity thinly over its entire surface. The fabric was powered by 2 giant batteries, and by testing the drain on the batteries, she could determine whether or not the dark energy was having an effect on capacity. Once the bot returned from the reactor site, its readings were consistent with the theory. While no dark energy could be detected, the batteries had certainly taken a hit in their charge level much greater than they should have. Kira then repeated the experiment, this time leaving the batteries at the site for several hours, but with the addition of a mounted camera to monitor their physical state. Sure enough, after about 16 hours of the batteries being drained at an abnormal rate, they ceased to exist. As she was reviewing the camera feed, the footage appeared impossible. In one frame it was there, and the next, only the air was being distorted, a residual effect of the reclamation. Then this invisible killer could be tricked. For protection, a suit could be made, diverting the energy to a belt-mounted battery, thereby protecting the carrier until the battery's inverted. Her hope was to construct a suit capable of further proving her theory, but the only way she could test it was to put it right to work. Removing the batteries from the containers, she slid the now warmer blocks into a white, leather-like holster and attached it to a larger vest. Standing, she carefully slid the vest over her body, zipping it up with care not to grab the fur bundled at her chest. It'll work, she thought as she smiled, pressing the circuit button to activate the electric flow. She felt no change in the wear of the vest, a good sign. She glanced over at the other two suits she had fashioned, one being a bit larger than her own and the other being small enough to fit in her arms. She smiled at what was sure to be his confused look as she would wrap him in his protective suit. She rubbed her eyes, eager to get these batteries charged and prolonged. The process was monotonous and time-consuming, but she knew it would prolong the life of the few batteries she was able to scavenge, so it would be worth it in the end. A new alert sounded. Smiling, she strode gingerly back to the device and brought up the message. Just got some interesting news, Cute Tail. Keep within our circle, it's not ready to go live yet. Sent it to your inbox. Call me when you've read it. Roger. This had to be good. She flew over the keys on her portable terminal, pulling up her incoming mailbox. A red line of text showed Roger as the forwarder. After she activated it, she sat back, ready to digest whatever it was. The following message was received from space at 14:46 LSD today. It was encrypted using an ISC algorithm and contained the following, asterisk. Beta Procyon, it seems as though you have encountered problems with your energy production, problems that we have dealt with years and years ago. However, this practice of extracting energy from the bounds of matter has been forbidden for some time. The procedures you are practicing have been known to spawn anomalies that are unstable and largely unpredictable. Since we have no way to gauge the severity of the damage, we have no choice but to assist you in a targeted evacuation of your planet. We have arranged for a cruiser to travel to your planet, which will upon arrival send down several rescue craft to limited points on your planet's surface. These need to be marked as soon as possible with linear radio emitters, each tuned to a distinctly different frequency. To the best of our abilities, we will land a craft at each location, making as many trips as needed to evacuate the surface. It will be up to your government to decide the procedure and logistics of moving the population to these extraction points. We will unfortunately be unable to send a force large enough to evacuate most citizens. Multiple trips will be needed and will take considerable time. The soonest our rescue fleet can arrive is 7 days from now. Until we arrive, stay safe. Fleet 614. As we prepare for rescue, please do not panic. Evacuation procedures will be broadcast as soon as the beacons are in place. These are dark days, but we will survive. Look out for one another. She didn't know what to think. Was this good? It was certainly help from the ones that came those years ago, but to command them to leave their own planet, the only place they'd ever known. She doubted this would go over well. No doubt there would be many that would refuse to leave. But what would she do? Stay and risk certain death, if she could even call being whisked out of existence death, or leave everything behind to move on? The thought of traveling to worlds unknown did fill her with a strange, almost betraying pleasure, and she would still be able to stay with her people, helping to better them in any future endeavor they might meet. But she knew what Roger would say. It's safer underground. His love for this planet was so deep-seated that he would refuse to go with her. All at once, the pressure, the drama, the danger, and the lack of sleep broke her. She held her paws to her muzzle, letting the tears fall. She sat, crying alone at the ethereal danger, wanting so badly for it all to be a dream, a nightmare from which she would wake. Why this? Why now? But she had known it all along. She had feared it, tried her hardest to prevent it, and now what good was she? If she was lucky, she'd only be able to save her son and herself. She lifted her tablet and dialed in Roger's signature. After a few coded bleeps, Roger's voice came through the microscopic speaker. "Hey doll," he greeted, more than a hint of empathy in his voice. Kira wiped the tears from her eyes and cleared her throat. "What are we going to do?" Roger's end was silent for a second. We'll love each other, just as we always have." She sighed, his words more comforting than they should be. "Are you planning on following your nose?" "You know that's a yes," he related. "I love you more than life itself, but I couldn't live with myself if I didn't try to find a way to stay. After those aliens came, everyone was trying to find a way to leave, to go beyond what we have made ourselves." He paused for a couple seconds, trying to hold back any impression of anger. I love being here, marveling at what we've done and living in our world. If I leave, that will never be possible again. I'm going to have to risk letting my family go, but if anyone can find a way back, it's you." The sincere words of her husband caused more tears to run freely from her eyes, a smile wrapping across her muzzle, moving the stream of tears away from her nose. "It's going to be impossible for me to leave," she stated. "I know, but you will," he replied matter-of-factly. "You both deserve the best. My beliefs shouldn't drag you down to my level." "Hey," he cut in, trying to change the subject. "When are you coming home? He misses you." A few seconds later, a few cute giggles came through the line. "I've got a few batteries left to finish." "But that won't take too long," she said, rolling her neck in an attempt to expel the stress from her muscles. "Besides, I heard you were cooking up something good tonight." Roger was silent for a moment. Maybe. Kira could feel the smile curl around his face. "See you in a bit."
While the area had not changed since the last times the doors had unlatched, it was immediately clear to me that something was different. It wasn't observable, but it existed nonetheless. The wilderness of green held impenetrable beauty and solace, but there existed a slight reflection of despair, a glimmer of a heart torn in two. The doors latched behind me, sealing me in this dome of recreated recreation. I stopped, allowing the artificially fresh air to caress the tips of my ears. Immediately, I began to yawn, growling from the depths of my lungs as I allowed tension and stress to be replaced by oxygen. I made my way further into the setting, striding up the hill to sit on the smooth, rocky outcropping. They say that the environment was created based on the suggestion of the original engineer, some section of Paleo-Terra. In all, the room represented a high-elevation woodland meeting the edge of a cliff. The landscape was by scale small, a square with 100-foot sides, but the illusions created by the artificial sky and remote boundaries gave it a complete look, an illusion of vastness that comforted me. It began as a soft field of yellow, a flat expanse extending upward slightly from the entryway to the collection of cliffside rocks on which I sat. Over the edge was a sharp, fierce drop-off, perhaps 4 stories in height. Rocks jutted from the cliff face with trees occupying any free space, but artificial erosion left easily accessible paths. At the bottom was a small pool of water littered with smooth stones and a dense forest of autumn colors, both of which ran fairly level until the second cliff, this the edge of the room, falling a good mile or so. I turned my head slightly, eyeing the stream as it ran past my paws, flowing from the sharp incline directly behind me to the rim of the precipice. Time went by without a care as I watched the clouds exchange glances. A sharp sound made my head jerk as the noise of sticks falling down the cliff wall reached my ears. My fur tensed momentarily, smoothing back out as I stood and glanced in the direction of the cacophony. A small brown figure disappeared under the canopy, only to return a few seconds later, carrying a small bundle of branches. They were then violently hurled upward at the cliff, falling randomly over the leaves below, smashing and crunching in the process. The small critter seemed upset. "Something wrong," I called out to the creature below. His gaze snapped in my direction, startled, and just as quickly he turned and retreated back into the cover of the trees. I tilted my head slightly in concern and made my way to the trail. It took no time to descend below the awning, and as I stepped onto the patch of leaves his figure had stirred, I saw the small furry being, sitting with his hind paws resting in the pond, his body shaking slightly. I strode carefully over to his side, dipping my legs into the pond to his right. His sobs began to reach my ears. Eventually he stopped, looking into the mostly smooth surface of the pond. I offered a paw and softly said, "My name's Zhao, I'm a wolf. Who and what are you?" The brown ball of fur rubbed his eyes with his tar-dipped arms and accepted my paw. "I'm Kip. I'm a raccoon," he mouthed. "Well, Mr. Raccoon, it doesn't appear you're having a very good day," I said. "What's got you so upset?" The raccoon lowered his head. "They lied to me. They've been lying to me." His sobbing grew for a second, and I placed a paw gently beneath his muzzle and brought it up to my eye level. "They did," I replied with a sympathetic tone. "Well, now you've got me interested, and I'm just going to sit here until you tell me everything." I shifted my body back to face the small lake, moving my legs slowly through the water. I don't know where to start, he replied. I don't know what to believe anymore. Then why don't you tell me what happened, and I'll help you decide what to believe. Cool. I guess, he replied. The adolescent raccoon spun a typical tale of his childhood, of being brought to this station school just as I and the others had, and for the same purpose, to better relations between the respective species and to form diverse task forces. He'd met friends over the years, trained in different skills, and studied in school. But recently, an assignment had peeled back the facade. A young tiger classmate stood and presented a mysterious world, Beta Procyon. At the sound of the system, the raccoon had perked, knowing the familiar name of his birth system, but soon felt mortification as the presenter explained that the world had been quarantined for years. He went on to show that no life was thought to exist on the planet. His teacher, suddenly animate, adjourned class for the day and escorted him to the captain's quarters. For the next few hours, the captain explained that he was indeed the only known survivor of his race, and that they had kept it from him for his own safety. Overcome again, he had run to this room in a fury only matched by his stream of tears. It was a lot to take in, but I'd heard worse. So what does that make you? I questioned, poking him in the side. He shifted and sniffed. The only known raccoon in the galaxy, he replied, a hint of disgust in his voice. He shuddered for a second, apparently fully realizing it for the first time. I thought for a minute. How do you know that? I asked him. He snorted. Because the world is quarantined, it's official and everything. So, I countered, maybe they got it wrong. I saw him perk for the first time during the discussion. It wasn't much, but it was enough. So what if they did? He challenged. I can't do anything about it. Sure you can, I pushed. Go there yourself. Ask for permission, make it happen, no big deal. I patted his head, ruffling his small amount of head fur. He quickly stood, looking at me with a vigor I'd never seen prior. You're right, I'm going to do it, he said confidently. He brushed himself off, ready to leave this very minute. A strong wind blew past us, stirring the leaves in a wake of garnet and gold. I smiled, getting to my feet as well. Was that all you needed? I joked. He just stood there, knee-deep in disappointment and sadness, but my suggestion seemed to allow him to channel this energy into something positive. He thought for a moment, swaying his bushy black and brown ringtail, eventually replying, yeah. The answer weighed heavy on my heart, but I couldn't let our encounter end in this ominous fashion. I looked around and saw the neural flowers, a deep purple-pink patch underneath a rock outcropping. You see those flowers, right? I checked, making sure he was following my gaze. MMHMM, he hummed. Have you ever seen those before? I asked. He nodded swiftly. But only from here, right? He nodded again, slower this time. Well, it just so happens that these flowers only grow on one planet in this entire galaxy. Well, grew. Unfortunately, it's now covered with volcanic activity, snuffing out most foliage. However, a small team of scientists just happened to collect a few seeds from this planet, and from all of those seeds, only these flowers bloomed. The flowers were brought to this station so that they could be studied, marveled at, but most importantly so that they could live, so that they could thrive. And now look at them. What do you think of them now? He just stood there for a second taking them in, but eventually inched toward them, admiring them in a different light for the first time. They're the most beautiful flowers in this place, he conceded. Exactly, I finished, arching my back in a stretch. The past has no affect on them now, does it? No, not really, he replied, catching my drift. He looked over at me with a few small tears in his eyes. Thanks, he attempted, standing in place as he took deep, heavy breaths.
Waiting had never been her specialty. She sat idle, the lights flashing by, counting slowly upward. A small ding cued her feet to move. The batteries kept tightly under her left arm. The pack on her back weighed heavily, stuffed full of the suits she had carefully fashioned. Their load, nothing next to the stress coursing through her veins. The doors closed. The light was cut off around her, secluding her to her own mind. It was strange to her that he, of all people, would have been the one to suggest this. Despite the ache in her heart, she knew he was right. She took a series of deep, steady breaths, her rhythm in time with the periodic blips. The past 24 hours had been amazing. That sleepless night, the long talk about nothing and everything, the kiss on her way out the door, the kiss that led into the river, the kiss that made her fall apart. The walk to the terminal was the stiffest she had ever held her neck. Now looking back, she kept telling herself, you'll never get over it if you can't do it now. It's for the best. And yet, when she finally made it, a strange calm inhabited her. He was supporting her, and she, him, both with mutual love and understanding. A good deal indeed. His tail shook furiously, its delicately short fur ballooning as she passed it through the hole in the suit. There you go, nice and comfy, she laughed. Her son's inquisitive glance circled the outfit. Her own suit sparkled, its metallic glint casting the two ringtails as space-age travelers. The battery slid into place with a click, activating a barely audible electrical hum. A soft wind whistled over the weave as it wound its way through the surrounding trees. She knelt, emptying her son onto his own paws, sending him into a stumbling run across the leaf-strewn soil. His fragile fingers wrapped themselves around the crunchy red selection as she rested against the ship, peering slowly up at the thick canopy of sun trails and gnarled brushwood. Come on, girl, you gotta leave it. She glanced down at her static suit, nervously ticking the zipper against the shadow-fallen aircraft. An emblem bearing a small, dual diamond design clung to the plating just under her paw, recollections rushing back before she could bury even one memory. Her paw steadied. A single tear touched her cheek, rolling across another of the countless reminders that appeared in everything. Before another thought could surface, a wet nose rubbed itself under her motionless paw, seeking attention. After a few small steps back, two triumphant black paws thrust a large yellow leaf toward her chest. Another salty tear drained from her forming grin. That will work, she said, accepting the offering and turning his face into a sheepish grin. That will work. After one last glance in the cockpit, Kira stood, took Hip by the paw, and turned her back on the craft. She instead looked down at her son, who plodded along as best he could. Some short seconds later, the two travelers cast their eyes on a glistening brook, its flow pointing them onward. The path to the station from their landing site was largely undisturbed, which was exactly her preference. With every step, the rich soil pushed up into her paws, the moist substance feeling its way between her toes. Sun bled onto her fur as the pair swung under fallen and hanging branches, dodging puddles as they strode along the bank of the water. Before long, a roar could be heard in the distance, cueing her to snatch her son into her arms. "Almost there, little guy," she cooed, surprised at his lack of complaint at being stolen from his pursuit of tadpoles. The faint outline of a rust-red structure caught her eye, barely visible among the trees. A few minutes later, the pair arrived at a foreboding entry to an underground passage, its internal lighting faintly visible deep into the tunnel. A small sigh escaped her muzzle. This was it. The last time she'd likely see the forest like this. She bent down to her son's level. "Think you'll remember any of this?" As his stare slowed his infant jitters, she folded into a cross-legged position, patting the fallen leaves next to her. The wind was more powerful than ever, but he seemed to have a different opinion. A smile couldn't be held off her face as she saw his delicate muzzle stick high into the air, eyes closed, tongue tasting the wind for its natural aura. It soon went back into the tooth-filled grin, too dry to continue. As he tried again, she closed her eyes and drew in a breath full of that precious wind, sending soft chills trickling through her fur. Absolutely nothing moved in her mind. Her son was in a proverbial bliss. The weather was in tune for a space-side rescue. And, most importantly, she was over it. Not willing to speak down his happiness, she silently stood and took a half-dozen steps into the service tunnel, knowing that her small critter would soon be along.
I don't know how much more I can take of this today. But I appreciate the assistance more than you could ever know. I see... Oh. Wild. Okay. This memory block is... not what I expected. I see her. She's motioning. She's like gesturing over machinery. I can't quite make out what or who is around her, but someone is impressed. I feel that. I need your help.
Is she in a factory?
No.
Is she demonstrating an advancement?
Maybe. It's possible. It's hard to say. You may want to pick at that in another way. I don't know. It could be nothing.
Is she showing the results of a fruitful experiment?
No. Although, I can't say it's entirely no.
Is she at one of the extraction points, or was it a communication points, that the alien race said were coming?
Yes. Absolutely. That's where she is. But...
Are there a lot of them around? Is she sending a communication?
No communication. A lot of what?
Is she one of the wolves from that earlier memory?
No. What earlier memory?
Is she showing them to Kip?
No.
Is she directing something?
Maybe? Herself? I don't know. She's directing no one else.
Is she showing the aliens the device/suit that blocks the antimatter?
Pick at that more. There's something there. Yes, but no. I can't explain it. It's related for sure, but they aren't interested in her device.
Was she able to verify the device works yet?
Yes.
Is she making new discoveries?
No. I wouldn't say so. She does have a confidence about her own suit. And the suit for her son.
Is she talking to the aliens that came to do the extract ions?
Yes.
Is she attempting to stay?
No. In fact, the opposite, I think.
Is she preparing the device for others' benefit too?
Yes.
Did she help with the evacuation?
She is helping.
Is she trying to board one of the ships? Are the ships full?
No, the ships are not full. They haven't boarded yet.
Is she attempting to be one of the first to leave?
I don't think so. She's not in a... No, she is. There is an urgency, but there's no... She's not trying to be the first, no.
Is she realizing that there are enough ships to save everyone?
No, it's almost the opposite of that emotion. I mean,
Is she trying to help organize the evacuations?
Yes, but they're already organized. But she feels there is a drive to help with something else.
Are the ships on the ground, or is there some intermediary way of getting from the ground into the ships?
The ship is on the ground.
Are the ships not able to fly or leave the planet?
That's it. The ships can't fly.
Is Kira thinking of using her tech to hide the ships from the invisible killer?
Oh, not hide. It wouldn't hide them. But this feels close.
Are the batteries able to power the ships or able to jumpstart the ships? Is Kira attempting to offer a kind of shielding to the ships?
I think so.
Word had spread quickly enough over the past few hours, so much so that she had lost count of the suspicions she'd confirmed. Many scared souls could be seen behind the nervous laughter and skyward glances. As the small white dot grew larger and larger as it approached the beacon, she was no longer a figurehead to anyone. She was along for the ride, and they were all at the mercy of these visitors. Kip scooped up to her lap, seemingly tired of the endless games of tag. She just held him, soaking in the warmth and joy. The craft was nearing the city now, its bright blue engine wash glinting off the many reflective surfaces in the city. Excitement was tangible in the air, so much so that there ceased to be talk of danger and disappearance. She backed into the wall of an adjacent building and watched as the enormous landing craft navigated between the skyscrapers, drawing its rear thrusters to bear as it settled slowly onto the large landing zone on the outskirts of the square. For that one moment, all the raccoons in the vicinity were all of one mind. For that one moment, Kira knew that no one cared about dying, living, rescue, whether God existed, anything. All that mattered then, and for the next few breaths, was the appearance of life from that craft. Excitement sprung in her, filling her lungs as she withdrew from the wall and strode out from the crowd. A hiss sounded, and just about every being there twitched as thin jets pulsed out of each side of the craft. At a seemingly glacial pace, select panels on each side were drawn out to form tendril-like appendages, narrow but rigid. Red lights adorned the underside of each extension, but quickly turned green as yet another round of steam emptied from the craft's belly. Before her mind was ready, a green creature, clad in solid black epidermal plating, dropped from the opening at the end of the pullout, landing softly on one knee. Kira quickly noticed some kind of energy shielding being projected in between the skeletal fragments of the armor. Its visor, lined with a transparent interface, slowly became less concealed as it attuned for the current lighting conditions. The creature's large, pointed eyes came into view as it stood and looked about itself, more concerned with something hidden than the mass of people in front of it. A quick nod and 4 more dropped out, moving to every side of the first, their backs turned toward the leader. Kira thought she spotted some kind of pistol weapon grappled to the jointed armor just below their waists, but none of the five's hands were anywhere near them. Instead, they simply seemed to be idle, looking in their respective directions while standing still. Again, nods all around, and the four flanking creatures parted to let their leader through. A small gulp slid down the female raccoon's throat as she stared at the glistening scout striding toward her, her eyes locked as well. His feet dropped to a halt, a few comfortable feet in front of Kira, while his gaze sent chills down her spine. He again nodded, looking over his shoulder at the other four before returning to the staring contest. Kira stood dumbfounded, her body frozen. It took a gentle wave of the creature's webbed hand to prompt her greeting. "Hello," she spoke, nodding slowly as she had always done. Immediately, she could see the helmet's HUD spit out information, which flickered, scrolled, disappeared. "Greetings, Raccoon," came a slickly mechanical sound from the helmet. "May I request your name?" She saw the creature's mouth move, but heard something entirely separate, as if the audio were out of sync. A real-time audio spectrograph ran across the visor, growing and shrinking with the strength of the wind. "Cool." "My name is Kira Ridge," she spoke in a comically slow way. "Are you our contacts?" "I believe so," the voice returned. Without moving his head, the creature's eyes rotated and looked over her, judging her. "I am called a chameleon. My crew and I will be assisting you during the operation." He waved behind him, his wrist plate clicking against an accompanying arm plate. "Have you gathered all you could?" "All we could, yes," she replied, somewhat comfortable with the conversation. "Some have decided to stay with the planet." A small sigh could be seen inside his body. "That is unfortunate. However, we must be of haste, as atmospheric conditions are reported to be volatile." She looked up at the sky and noticed the swirling clouds. "Right then, we're prepared to board." "Instruct your people to form a line for processing," he stated, waving again. "We will be on our way when you are ready." As he was turning his way, his visor instantly became opaque. If it had not been for her sense of urgency, the new and interesting methods that had been displayed to her would have fascinated her for days. Instead, she became a mom again. People, it's time. I know we've all got different reasons we don't want to leave, but we all have the same reason why we can't think about those anymore." She looked around at the nervous energy that covered the anxiety. "I've been asked to have you form a single file line, so let's cooperate the best we can. Let's make sure families stay together too, and please, everyone, let's all show some thanks by not causing any problems." She wandered around a bit, helping others gather their belongings and children, spreading good luck wherever she could. Surreal as it was, she couldn't shake the feeling that it all felt so wrong, so rushed. It was all happening so fast. She scooped up her son from his confusion and walked to the front of the line. The moment had finally grown larger than her. A short walk later, and she was at the ship again. Not sure what to do, she called out, "We are ready for you!" One dropped from the ship, his armor naked of its shielding. He looked at the line and motioned for her to follow him. Sun in hand, she strode forward, tailing the creature into a side entrance of the ship. Kira assumed this was the cockpit, or at least the place from which the ship was flown due to the numerous switches adorning the ceiling and presence of dual sticks on the forward-facing dash, sitting snugly in front of some interestingly shaped seats. She silently thanked the heavens for her excitement, as it was certainly saving her from what she should have been feeling at the moment. Not really knowing how, she recognized the original chameleon, who spun in the right chair to face her. Another one was curled up under the dash, picking his way through a sea of cables and the occasional sparks. The nature of the look she received told her something was amiss. Rather than address the tension, she nodded, feeling that somehow her acknowledgement would make whatever they had to say go down smoother. "No formalities," he said through his interpreter apparatus. "The ship has somehow been totally disabled from flight." Kira blinked a few times before the information sunk in. "Disabled from flight? But that means we can't leave then, can we?" she asked, rolling her shoulders forward. "No, not unless it can be fixed," he replied, motioning to the work being done. He drifted over to the controls and called up a transparent display of graphs, gauges, and other data. I'm afraid any precautions taken to assure the ship remain unaffected by this plague you face have failed. Our central core is functional, and any attempt to bring the cooling units online is unresponsive. Despite the power of our engines, we would not survive an ascent without cooling. Sounds vaguely familiar. Have you contacted the orbiting ship for help? She asked, a quiet desperation in her voice. The chameleon rolled his eyes completely around in their sockets. Of course I did, but they rejected my help. They even told me not to relay this information to any one of you, but I felt that was necessary. After all, it's our fate now too. He blinked, the seriousness of his tone not matching his message. Kira took a few paces in the small room, mulling over the ideas springing to life in her head. So, if the cooling units could stay operational, then our chances of takeoff would increase? They would almost 100%, considering the units function through the entirety of the flight. Unfortunately, we only have enough phantom power to ignite them a few more times, and so far, all of our attempts have failed. While Kira wanted badly to acquire how this phantom power worked, she glanced over her suit and knew what she had to do. Can the circuits leading in and out of the cooling units be accessed directly? Yes, came the sound from the chameleon buried in cables. They're typically difficult to reach, but if we have to get to them, we can. The more vocal chameleon eyed Kira closely, his lips curling up as his eyelids slanted a bit. Do you have something in mind, Raccoon? Because I think this situation is a bit out of my control. Oh, I agree. It may be out of your control, Kira started, looking over her tablet. But I also think I have a solution. It's all you can let me do, correct? Correct. Then allow me a moment. She turned to walk back toward her gathered species. Breathe. She felt her paw glide over the soft, smooth metal, reaching blindly for the release switch. Her forefinger came to rest on the small plastic piece, hesitating to apply pressure. A small collection of saliva made its way slowly to the back of her throat, sliding down with a resisting gulp. With a resounding snap, the battery dislodged from its makeshift compartment. Kira quickly moved it into its new bag and snapped it back, exhaling softly with both her paws resting on the cold floor. The echoing sound of raindrops splattering about the exterior of the compartment brought a soft, cool joy to her mind, even though she knew she'd just signed a death warrant. The problem hadn't been isolated. Her rescuers had no effective way of handling the problem. Because of the foreign energy sources, the radiation must have been attracted to their landing craft. Reports were circulating at lightning speed of this occurrence across the planet, telling of a panic that was almost tangible. No one at her camp had been told, and all the better for their chances of survival. Looking back at the circuitry she'd just rewired, she drew a faint resemblance to the suit she bore, the repair sporting a collection of wire spools and metallic fabric that wound around cylindrically, but with no real structure. Satisfied, she yanked on a dangling lever. A large, multi-layered explosion of low-tone frequencies married the occasional square whine. She waited a few seconds to hear it continue, peak, and fade into a soft symphony of success. Kira laid flat against the ship's frame to peer out its small opening. Within seconds of the core's reignition, she witnessed the shielding pattern re-energized over the armor skeleton of the visitors, spreading faces of joy across the crew. She dusted herself off as an excuse to avoid their gazes. The leader was the first to greet her. Well done, Raccoon, offered the lead officer. I feel I've underestimated you. She nodded silently, forcing a smile, not ignorant to the fact that only her city was likely to escape the planet. Let's get going. She walked back to her son, gripping his outstretched paw firmly. We're still in this.
I see a woman, a child, others frozen in fear. There's a body slumped lifeless in the corner. They're all staring at a door. What is happening? Please. Please.
Was there an accident?
I don't think so. Maybe?
Kira gave her life?
No, she's alive.
Was this intentional?
Was what? I don't know.
Is the body a raccoon? Did
No.
the captain or one of the crew die?
Yes.
Is it the dark matter?
I don't feel that.
Was it the captain?
I don't know how to explain this, but every being in this ship is the same except for the body.
Was there a fight that led to someone killing another person?
Ooh, it feels like it, but not here. That energy exists, but not in this place. This person.
Is the body a chameleon?
Yes.
Is Kira still standing?
She is, yes.
Was it the talkative chameleon?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Was there a mutiny?
This body is the only chameleon. I don't know. Was there a mutiny? No, I don't think so.
Was the ship able to lift off or is it still grounded?
It was. They are in space. They are well above the planet's surface.
Was it some kind of sabotage?
No.
Was the ship able to load as many people as possible or did it have to take off early?
It took off as intended. I mean, apart from Kira's patchwork. Hold on. I feel like there may have been a bit of travel, unrelated, but the other chameleons didn't board. Only this one. But not out of any malice or mistakes. It was intentional.
Did the raccoons band together to fight?
No.
Was the chameleon not meant to be in space?
No, that's where he wanted to be.
Did the ship leave in a hurry?
From the surface? No. I mean, they were generally rushed, but...
Did they meet up with any other ship in space?
They didn't. They were trying to.
Was the chameleon the pilot? Did they get boarded involuntarily? Was there only one chameleon in the ship when the ship left?
Yes. Did they get boarded involuntarily? No, they've not been boarded. Are going to be?
Is it space pirates?
No pirates.
Did they make any stops between the raccoon world and where they were going?
No.
Is there a battle or a fight?
There was. There was. Somewhere. Not in the ship.
Was it from something cloaked?
No cloaking.
Did something happen to the main chameleon ship?
I want to say yes, Yes,
Did the crew witness a battle?
I think so.
Are the chameleons a hive mind?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Was the main chameleon ship destroyed? Is the main chameleon ship no longer functioning as intended?
She held Kip close, checking and rechecking the batteries compulsively. In any other situation, she'd be marveling at the moments of weightlessness, the incredible view of the planet's curvature outside these smooth, large windows. Instead, she was holding her breath, hoping the patch would survive the journey. Everything was unknown now, to her and to the other silent passengers, mostly unfamiliar, anxious faces. They were prisoners to the process now, simply along for the ride. They were growing steadily closer to a much larger vessel. She would be much more ready to relax once they were aboard. It startled her then when the chameleon traveling amongst them leapt to the window, shouting something that the visor refused to translate. Every other passenger eyed him anxiously, ignoring the scenario screaming into their heads, until a bright flash shone through the other side of the transport. Before she could turn her head, the cabin rolled hard to the left, tossing all aboard against the walls of the ship. She heard the helmet speaker crackle a single intelligible word: attack. Everyone on board immediately searched for anything to grab onto, bracing themselves as the ship twisted and turned in the void. Crackles of explosions, laser bolts, and rapid-fire communications spit from the chameleon's helmet and the ship's ceiling. Nothing good. Kira finally got a good look at the chaos outside. Another, much larger ship, clearly of a different design, was now in their space, and it was tearing into their destination ship with a barrage of firepower. The large ship under fire was attempting to turn, its engines pulsing so bright she could hardly look. But it was glacial, awkward, clearly unprepared for her fight. No sooner had she taken stock of the situation than a bright flash erupted from the center of the new ship, sending a burst of brilliant energy lancing through their destination, carving it cleanly in two. The engines dimmed immediately, the new halves drifting into each other and ricocheting away. Clouds of smoke, debris, and small bursts of fire emanated from the destroyed ship. It was over. There was no time to think, or worry, or be afraid. It was all happening so fast. It was panic without anywhere to go. Another warning sounded in their craft, accompanied by the floor shifting suddenly from out under them, almost as if they'd been attached to a magnet far away. The chameleon had been looking out the windows at this new dreadnought and was visibly shaken. As they slowly set a new, involuntary course for the ship, he turned slowly to Kira and the others. He unholstered his firearm and primed it, looking it over slowly. "Please, look away," came from his suit, masking the dejection on his face. Most began to turn, their fate sealed. Kira stared at him and understood. She covered Kip's face and closed her eyes before the blaster discharged and a body crumpled to the ground. Many screamed. When she looked again, the creature was slumped to the floor, a cauterized hole in his head and a tar black scorch mark on the ceiling. Without a second thought, she bent down and retrieved the weapon, taking a moment to look over the figure. What in the world was waiting for them on that ship? Before long, their vessel passed the outer edges of the dangerous captors, moving up inside of the ship. The lights dimmed and disappeared. The air grew stale and warm. The ship jolted to a halt, as if something quickly attached to the space outside the only door. She looked over the weapon and set it on the ground. "No sudden movements," she instructed, her son gripping her leg. "We come in peace, seeking help, she said, louder this time. Silence. The speaker in their craft cackled to life. Is anyone armed? It said in their language. No, she quickly responded. I don't know who you are or what you're after, but we are citizens of Beta Procyon and only seek help. We have no other motives than peace. Please stand by. The door began to open. She caught a glimpse of several figures, weapons pointed at them. These were different, vaguely similar in size and shape to her own people, but with different fur colors, muzzle shapes, faces, ears. One stepped forward. Holy hell, what did they do to you? He said, walking in after motioning his people to stand down. They? Kira asked, not letting her guard down. We'll explain everything in due time. You're safe here. He looked around the room at the shaken travelers, at Kip. We were sent to rescue you. He motioned at the slumped chameleon in the corner. They were not.
That exhausts the memories. That's all I had to decrypt. Wait. Mom?
Good. Okay. 12 times the charm. You got this. Hello, Kip. It's your mother, Kira, saying hello to you in the future, I suppose. The real you, or the present you, is in the other room. They're taking a look at you, and you're not super happy about it. They say the pursuit probably saved you. Still some things to cross off, but you should be okay. Yeah, well, if you're watching this, then you're more than okay. There's no easy way to... There's no easy way to say this. Most of us are not okay. The dark blight is still tethered to us, and there's a lot they can do to ward it off, but not completely. It'll come for all of us eventually. They're taking us somewhere secret, somewhere nice. They say it's a resort most spend a whole lifetime saving to retire to. We'll see, I guess. I know it's not easy to hear. I trust you'll take the time you need and be kind to yourself and get support from others. Kip, it all happened too fast. They're taking me to do an interview in this machine before we leave. I hope that will give you some answers, but none of it is good news. I wish there was more I could do, but they promise me you'll have a wonderful life ahead of you. They're gonna enroll you for a school for... Right, well, I mean, you already know, right? And you're already grown up. Kip, I'm so proud of you. I'm sure life hasn't been easy. And I know this will make it a little bit harder, but if you've made it this far, you're stronger and more capable than anybody I've ever known. I'll always be there, deep inside. I know you can do whatever you set your mind to. Oh, there you are now. Say hi, Kip. Yeah, right there. That's you. Yep. I know, they were keeping you and touching you. It's okay. It's okay, I'm here. Yep, I'm here. I love you, Kip.
I'm sorry, that was a lot. My name is Kip. I'm sure you figured that out by now. What you may not know is I'm also the leader of the Starlight Expedition. We are currently en route to Beta Procyon to evaluate the situation on the planet, my planet. We're not exactly authorized to do so. I'm not sure what we're going to find. If my mother's history is to be believed, there is nothing left, but I have to know. The tensions in the world today are higher than they've ever been. My home consortium, the NGC, if they knew, if others knew, if everyone knew what happened on my planet, it could spark a war. But many wrongs were enacted on my people, and I need to get to the bottom of it. Too many cover-ups. I need the details. I need proof. We are taking a big risk, but these crimes, they must be exposed. Whoever you are, wherever you are, thank you. I would not have been able to uncover so much information about myself and my past and my way forward without you. Farewell for now. We are set to arrive tomorrow. May the winds give you speed. Goodbye.